a lot coming down the pipe for you here with practices, with cuts coming up next week. What's any updates from the last couple days?
No, nothing. Just trying to get everybody healthy today. We had an indoor practice today, which the facility I thought was pretty good. Just the same old things. The quarterbacks, that's a position that we really keeping an eye on and doing that. Stacking those running backs, their job description, and the receivers. Same old thing though. We hadn't made any decisions on anything as of yet.
There was a report that came out that Mark Thompson had a little injury or something yesterday. Is there any update on him, and is he doing okay?
Yeah, he was fine. He went to matter of fact, he's at the doctor's as we speak. He's getting an MRI. I expect him to practice Monday.
Okay, good to know. Appreciate it. Did you guys scrimmage with Arlington yesterday, I believe, or excuse me, joint practice?
It was touch football. It wasn't a scrimmage.
Right on.
It was practice. It was good. I love working with him because the one thing, they know how to practice. Stoops and those guys do a phenomenal job. They got a good roster. They won a championship last year, and so it's a team that we can compare ourselves to and see where they're good or where they're weak at. The same thing with us. We could see where we're good or where we're weak at. So I love to work with them.
Right on. And being able to practice with the team that was in the XFL last year, does that help you and your coaching staff to kind of evaluate some of the talent that's on the XFL side? Because you haven't seen these guys up until these past couple of weeks. So is that a helpful aspect there?
Oh, absolutely. It's good to see them, see the speed, see the size of those guys, who they got and where. I love the quarterback. I mean, they got two really good quarterbacks, Sanchez and Scott. So I mean, it was a good exercise. Good exercise.
Thanks, Coach.
You're welcome.
Hi, Coach.
How you doing?
Yeah, thanks for taking the time. Yeah. I know this training camp is going by pretty quickly, and you do have quite a long training camp, longer than usual. Are you able to get a good chance to work out and evaluate all your position groups?
Yeah, you know what's the best thing about it? It is long enough. I like it. I wish we had more time with the 75, but right now we got about, say, almost a week and a half to go to make some decisions, and I like this. I like the timing of the training camp, because right as we get done, we make the final cuts, and it's only 8 players. Then we get right into game week. So I like our training camp is. I like where it sits. I like what we're doing.
Do you ever regret that the UFL doesn't have the time for an exhibition game before the start of the regular season?
Well, I mean, it's almost like a college season, because in college you never really, when you started playing, you love to have an exhibition game, but I would love for them also to have a time where these guys can get in a little bit better condition. Because, the first couple of weeks you're spending a bunch of time conditioning and doing some things, but first couple of days at least. But other than that, man, I like everything about the XFL.
Well, the lack of this conditioning that you see with some players, that you must be very wary about that and trying to avoid the injury bug that might occur because of that, right?
Yeah, and that's why early on in camp we have allotted times to practice. You can't just go out and practice a bunch of times. You got a 60-minute practice, a 75-minute practice, and a 90-minute practice. I think that helps, but you love to have about a month with your team where you teach them how to practice, you teach them how to run, and you help get them in a little bit better condition.
Well, how do you keep the players motivated then?
Oh, they motivated. It's fun. There's always a competitive drill. Somebody's always doing push-ups or sit-ups or whatever. You just got to make it where I don't think it needs to be extremely long practice, but it needs to be concise. It needs to be detailed, but you got to keep it competitive.
Thanks, Coach.
You're welcome.
All right. Any other questions, guys?
Brittany, I do. Hey, Coach, you talk about the conditioning. You go a little deeper into that.
Repeat it. You kind of went out. Repeat it one time.
Yeah, my bad, Coach. It's Spurgewood Fuel Network. How are you today?
Doing well. How are you?
Hey, so you're talking about the conditioning, not having that long period of time. What is it that you're having these guys do after practices, in between the practices, to keep that body healthy and all of that? Like, what is some of the stuff that you've implemented to keep your guys healthy during this time to where they stay conditioned better?
Well, here's what happened. I think it starts during practice. In the beginning of practice, usually stretches about 7 minutes. We have a 20-minute acclimation period. So they're kind of getting acclimated to what we're doing. They kind of get acclimated to practice time, and they're out there a little bit longer before practice. After practice, we'll do a little bit of running, a little bit more for the receivers. They do a little more route stuff, but then every other day, there's a lift. Because generally in training camp, most teams don't lift weights. But in order to get those muscles back and healthy, I think you got to do that. I love how we have the cold tubs out there. Right after they get done lifting, man, they jump in those cold tubs to get their legs back. But the one thing is you can't replicate football. Football is a lot of pushing and shoving and doing those things. So you like to have some time to pull a sled or do a couple things like that so that those guys that they're in shape. What the league does, it mandates the allotted time of practice. Like you can't go out and have just a 2-hour practice. And so what that does is it helps everybody stay on the same playing field, and you're kind of moving them into getting into shape. You're just not all out at once.
To follow up on that one, Coach, the XFL last year for 2023 really introduced this whole new analytics type thing where it was showing the players' performances and stuff like that during practices in the game. Are you taking that into consideration as you're doing this? And are you looking at that? And what does it mean for you to see this kind of stuff?
Absolutely. When I was with the Bears in, I think it was 2016, that's when we first started really getting into it. But you always, man, with the Saints, we had it. Everywhere I've been, most of the places since then that we've had it. And I think it's a good thing. I think it's perfect because it tells you about hydration, who's hydrated and who's not. It tells you how many miles a guy would run in a day. I'd have guys run so many miles, I'd have to cut down the following day because then they will never get their strength back. They'll never get their legs back.
Thanks, Coach, and best of luck to you this season.
Thank you, too.